Going pretty soon.
Yeah, I'm ready. So speaking of language, 1944. What was it like trying to communicate?
Well, I'll tell you, I knew so much about it. I'd read the little book, and you see, where were we after we left here? There's an outpost not very far from Carrington, and they said, Mullins, they didn't go by the first name. The first sergeant says, Mullins, go out and find a place, an outpost, and get grazing fire and put your machine gun up. I went out there, and of all things, I don't know why, they zeroed on me the first thing. You understand what zeroed in? The artillery. Boom, boom, boom. And there was a dog running around, and the dog heard it coming around. He's there with these shells, and my foxhole was right here. The dog, he made a dive for the foxhole and got ahead of me. And I finally got him out of there and threw him outside. I said, "This is my foxhole, it's not yours." And just after then, there was a house there. And I walked over to the house with an old grandma. She came walking to the door. And the first thing I said to her, I said, "Parlez-vous français?" And I was asking her, can she speak French? And boy, she let into me. I know she was cussing me out or something. But anyway, that was the first thing that I said in French to a French person. And I asked them, could they speak French? And that's all I could speak, is say parlez-vous français. Now from this day on, when I talk to a French person, that flashes back in it. Now, wait a minute now. Can't say parlez, I just say Français English. But I have to think to do that because of this lady. She gave me such chewing out.
So
I'm still making mistakes, lots of them.
How do we learn from mistakes?
But I'm still learning, cramming something into my hard drive. So one of these days, maybe I'll learn.
And speaking of mistakes, how is it important to learn from these mistakes? So let's say, World War II may or may not have been a mistake, but how have we grown from that?
We're looking at the big picture of, say, international. I think, where did I get that? Oh, at the place at the town square where the college students were singing and talking. I couldn't understand exactly what they were saying, so much noise. But they said that you can almost dissolve or take care of any troubles, anything with love. But with hate, you do nothing. It's about the way it's said. That is a great lesson to the whole world. From your home, to your partner, to anyone. If they can dissolve their differences with love instead of hate. Hate seems like never cools down. It keeps on and building and picking. And what did you do wrong? Now you did this, and you little things that don't matter one bit in this world. It doesn't concern our lives. Little things that families pick each other to pieces with. And it's wrong. If they can do that, it gets building up till it's way up there in our homes and our government and everything. So much difference in the military today than it was during the Vietnam War. I feel, and I've seen it, that we lost it about that time. I went back during the Korean War. Where in the world is the discipline? Because we lost something between the end of World War II, and it took no time. Where did the discipline go to? You cannot run a home. You cannot carry on with a school. You cannot carry on a government. Everything I look as a discipline from a little kid on up. And you ask me about our military, what I see of these boys, they are disciplined. And I'm very proud to see that. From the time I was drafted, after they pulled it together, I was sent to our infantry replacement training center in Camp Wheeler, Georgia, for 17 weeks. That was a short time. I was never on a maneuvers on a little bivouac. But I had never seen a tank, and I never seen a piece of artillery. And there's a lot of other things that I get to see before I hit the beach here. It was a rough ride, 12 days across, because we went up into the North Sea. It takes time to tell what happened there. But we'll go from the time we landed here. Do you want me to tell the discipline, the difference in the discipline, or just, there's so many categories of it, so much time that it take to tell all of this. I'm trying to get to the question that you asked me and stay on that track. But we had good discipline. But General Taylor, when we were in a barbed wire fence, behind the barbed wire fence over in England, the day before, this happened about the day, say, June the 5th. He made a speech to us. He got up there, told us, hey, it's this way, it's that way, and this way. And you replacements, you'll have to make out the best you can. I was one of them. I was one of them replacements. And I come to find out, in the beginning and the end, hey, there was not much difference in us. I had no training. 17 weeks is not much training. When you haven't even seen a tank or seen a piece of artillery, you don't have much training. And
he'd never seen the ocean before he left the States to go over to England, to Belfast. You'd never seen the ocean.
Oh, I was miles and miles out in the ocean before I ever seen it, because there's a blackout. And they knew the wolf pack was close. I had went into the North Sea. I think it took 12 days. And some of these guys, tough paratroopers, they had to carry them off in a stretcher. He wouldn't eat. A couple of weeks, you get pretty weak. That really happened. And our chow, it wasn't too bad, but everybody was sick. And that ocean is different for guys. I'm a seagoing man now, but I had to have the practice and had to do fishing on the ocean. And I keep getting let off here from what I'm trying to tell of the question you asked me. And we had good discipline, but the officers themselves had never been in combat. That makes a difference in fighting the Germans. But when we left here, I felt, hey, we've learned something. We've learned how to fight the jury. And we had a different name for the German. GIs, always, they got to give something a name. So they give them the name of Kraut. I guess for the sauerkraut.
I think I might be able to reel us in here. So you're speaking of discipline, the military bearing, the courage it took. I'm sure there was just fear running through your body.
Oh, I think I threw this to the other person. Now, I don't know how the other soldiers were, but there is something, a ghost of some kind, or I don't know, I can't explain this. You change from, like we are now, till there's an inner feeling that I can't understand. I can't tell you how you feel. Because anytime it's a second you're dead. And to face that, hey, you got to have something to hold on to. And to overcome this, you have to have what I had was something to hold on to. But every time I went in combat, like coming into Bastogne, it hit me hard because I'd been hit with 72 days in Holland. And what really broke me down, and it stayed with me for a long time, is the little shoe mine. It's different from getting blown to pieces of artillery. It was different. And it was different from guns. I never feared the machine gun, the bullets. But believe me, if you stay on artillery, it was proven in the German army, it's proven in this. If you stay under artillery long enough, it'll run you crazy. You'll absolutely go insane because it has to do with this inner feeling of these shells coming in. You get no sleep, and it seems like it's every day of this. And we know the war isn't over. It's a long ways to Berlin. I kept that in my mind. Hey, how far are we here? We're a long ways from Berlin. And some of the boys say, well, not some. I had one, my machine gun barrier. He kept telling me, he said, George, he called me Mullins. He said, everybody was the last name. His last name was Avila. And he said, you're not going home if you keep doing what you're doing. I said, no. He said, I know you're not. He said, I'm going home. Well, he had a different position than me. He only carried the ammunition, and he could stay in the foxhole. But somebody had to be on that machine gun, and he had to be using it. I was in a different position. But for some reason, I was happy to use that thing. The more shells I could use, the better. But I knew how to use them. And when I jump a little farther, when I became a sergeant, I took the place of the sergeant we lost right here on the Dove River. That was after Bastogne. I was different. I had no training. I never went to NCO school. But I did know my machine gun. I knew what it would do, and I knew how to use it. But I'd always read and never hear the outpost was always knocked out the first time. I understood that, and I faced it. And a machine gunner only, the stories I'd hear from World War I, that he didn't last very long. He's the first one that got killed. That was in my mind, but I didn't let that worry me. But there was something else. This ghost, or the feeling you have of being in combat. You try to overcome that, but as long as I was in combat, this thing of, I don't know if it's fear or it was a ghost or something, I never got over that. And the more I got closer to those foot mines, the worse it was. Shoe mines in military. And these shoe mines, I understood, was made in Italy. And to this day, I was hoping that the whole international world would get together and ban any international sale, manufacture of any kind of mine. I don't care if it's a mine manufactured specially to knock a tank out, or if it's this teeny thing to blow your leg off. They leave them in the fields, and to this day, little kids are getting blown to pieces with that dang mine. That's what I'm talking about. Now let's get back on the track. We got to get back on the railroad track somewhere. But there's so many tracks in my mind.
The ghost.
Sometimes I forget which track to take.
About the ghost.
Oh, the ghost. Is that the one we're on?
Yeah. Talk about the ghost.
I believe if tomorrow I was to go into combat, that dang ghost would still be with me. I don't know what it is. I can't explain the feeling, but I could never get rid of the ghost. Not even to this day, if I went into combat. And it was that way here. It was that way in Holland, 72 days. But not as bad in Holland as it was in Bastogne. And the ghost had kind of left me when we got over on the Alsace-Lorraine. And time I got to Berchtesgaden, Berchtesgaden in German, we knew the Germans were surrendered. The war was going to soon be over. That ghost left me, and that booger hasn't been back with me since.
So you haven't felt it?
I have never felt the ghost.
What was carrying you through? Earlier you were talking about, when you landed here, but you had something you were holding on to.
I told this to the other person. We came in now about, in those days I never had a compass, and I wasn't so educated as I am now. I've always been knowing where south, north, and west, and east is, and I was, since a little boy, I've never been lost on this earth. But if I can't see the stars or the sun, I'm pretty well lost out there. It gets foggy, you don't know where you are. But let's get back to this question. I lost it right quick.
You'd mentioned that there was
Oh.
something that you had that some other boys might
I'll
not
tell you
have
this, because there might be a reason for me to be who I am. Still walking around, I see the boys so far gone. They're holding on. But we came into Carentan, across that Dove River. Next morning, we stayed in this little road up above. The little road runs from the south to the north. We had the name of it. I think it's where the eagle the other day we went to. But that wasn't the community that I went. After I got across the river. Next morning, I was in bad shape. I'd crawled through the nettles and my hands they were swollen up. And I was sitting at kind of a bank like place. And here come a guy with a machine gun. He threw it down from me and said, "Mullins, you're the machine gunner." I went from an ammunition barrier, although when I crossed the river I had the ammunition, plus I had that carbine that folded. I carried that. I was supposed to hold on 2 boxes of ammunition, fire the gun. That was the orders, fire the gun. I got there, morning time, no breakfast, dirties that came through, had them impregnated clothes on. You understand what I'm talking about? Oh, I had my fatigues, heavy fatigues with this heavy jacket. And they put a material on there because they expected the Germans to use gas in it. Somebody did, just like they did in World War I. I believe to this day that we were an experiment. Some guys didn't have it. Other guys, we're talking about, say, this battalion or this division also. I had impregnated clothes on. You couldn't run with them. They were stiff. And them darn things. But I'll tell you, you didn't have to worry about freezing to death. We got through the water, but I don't know when it dried off. But I was dry when we crossed that. We went across on a boat. And we got over there and had a bad night. And I was at this little community and I looked around. There was a big swastika about 10 feet each way. I thought, Looks like the aircraft could have picked that up, and they should have bombed heck out of the place. Well, they took the sod and covered up their emplacements. And the day before, we lost a guy, the first guy that I knew that got killed in our outfit. I could be wrong, he might some got killed before that. But this guy got a bullet right between his eyes. He looked up over the dike and he shot, I don't know how many yards from across the river down that way. And I got to wonder, where was he when he shot that boy? Soldier. And, well, they had took boards and they were right out into the trees, and they had emplacements out there and they could see a long way. And even on the ground, I could see the whole armada out in the ocean. That morning I could see the armada there. Later on, my first, a sergeant, he was only just a sergeant, but the riflemen, they went that way, and he said, I think it was the first emplacement, he went in that thing real quick, and the pork chop was still hot. He said he ate it. Those guys made a run for it. We never seen one German there. And this guy came with this machine gun, and he said, Mullins, you're the machine gunner. I said, where's all the men? I said, where's all the men? He said, I got 2 men to go with you. They're the ammunition barrier. They stayed with me from there to the end of the war. They were the ammunition for the machine gun. So we came over, we made a circle here, and they tell me it's only 3 miles. We walked all night. 3 miles for us in one night. They said, you made it. I didn't. That's unbelievable. We just went 3 miles. Well, they say it could be 4, but 3 miles how the crow flies. But my memory that we went from here all the way to the Dover River where we crossed in one night, because we traveled all night. My machine gun weighed 48 pounds, and I used to think I weighed less than that, but my discharge says that's when I was discharged. I weighed 155 pounds, but I really believe that when I went in, this happened, I only weighed 135 pounds. And we get up just before the big steeple, and we was trying to get into Carentan, and the major says, and we were in the ditch. I was in the ditch with the rest of them, but they were pushing the boys up in front, and they kept hollering, medics, medics, which way they stopped. Never raise your voice and holler for a medic. The German likes to hear that. And these boys up in front, they would either get wounded or killed. And I often thought about it as the tactics being used. Now, I'm not trying to downplay any officer or anybody in this war that I knew. He was doing the best he could and the best he knew how. But none of us knew how to fight the Germans. And we didn't know the tactics. But to go up a road in a ditch forward to try to take them out, you can't do that. Kill the first ones. They don't have a chance. So, hey, we're going to keep pushing up. So, now this was what was told to me. They took the major back. Somebody shot him in the leg. But for after that, I can't remember if we went through this hedgerow that night or next morning. But I believe we went through the hedgerow and we came back and to the same place. It didn't take very long. We went around and came back. And everybody felt so tired and everything. It got dark, and I dug it wasn't a foxhole, it was a slip trench, so you could lay down in. And I dug and dug and dug, so I woke up about midnight, and goodness, it's only this deep. I was so weak I could get it done. And I said to myself that I got to do something. So I got on my knees and said a prayer. And I said, it's a long ways from here to Berlin. Look what's happened to me. Here's all my section, 13 men, and it's just me left. What chance have I got? I got a long ways to go. This is in my mind. And so I asked God, just give me something to hold on to. And I turned around and he reached out his hand. It's something like I'd never seen before. It wasn't just a man. Every part of it gleamed like the bright lights of a Christmas tree. Here he was. But he never touched me.
You said it yesterday, you looked like Jesus. Like
This was Jesus, the guy that I worshiped. And to this day, I can still see that hand. But I'm still holding on to the distance between me and his hand. And believe me, it hasn't been always safe in my civilian life either. I've been a fisherman, I've been a logger, and both of them are not easy going. They're both dangerous, very dangerous. And next morning, weather's changed. It's not bright sunny, but this old machine gun is breathed. The boys, they run through this place cut in the hedgerow. And I look at it, one coming, just come through there. And believe me, it wasn't a solid stream, but it's, he was, for some reason, he's trying to get the guys as they came through. So, well, I got to do something. So I raised that machine gun up like that. I didn't know I was an acrobat. And I threw that thing over, and I flipped myself through there. And that threw me into a ditch. Not easy going over. I pull this, crawling down this ditch, and crawl right through a human crap. Stink. You know, go and get a bath and wash yourself. That stayed on me. I don't know how long. And this is my special place on earth. That little spot up behind that house, just before the hedgerow. And for some reason, the rest of my combat was scary, especially 72 days, when the Germans could put artillery reach me at any day. And the rest of the war was much easier for me. But every night before I go to sleep, I thank him for taking care of me. And as a pilot, the close things of getting killed in my own airplane, to my fishing, my logging, and other situations where people, they mean to kill you. And I've survived all of that. And here I am today. I'm still vertical, and he's still taking care of me. I'm not afraid of anyone. I had a wife. She was scared. The poor thing was scared of just about everything. But when I married her, I said, I found her running like a rabbit. And I said, from this day on, there is no running. There is no, your kids, which she had, and my kids was 5. We had 10 kids when I married her. I said, nobody's going to mistreat you. And she changed altogether. She changed for the best. And to this day, I'm not afraid of anyone, because I've got this hand to hold on to. That is my belief.
Powerful. Very well done, George. today is the day. 73 years ago.
Tell me
Today's
again.
D-Day.
Today's D-Day.
Yes.
So the anniversary of 73
This is the
years
6th.
ago. This is the 6th. Tell them,
What a wonderful day.
yeah.
So much has changed. And that night that I lost all my comrades, was it you asked me, what would you do or what would I say if they were here, if they could come back to me? And all the thousands of boys that lost their lives. And I see them to this day. And my wife would be with them. You know what I'd say? I couldn't say anything. I'd be so happy. And I wished I could kiss them and love them and hold them through eternity. And that's what I hope to do one day. Or a night. I'm not perfect. I'm 92 years old, but I learn every day. I learn what to not do. As I've made a mistake yesterday. I won't tell you the mistake, but I know in my head, in my heart. But at the moment, I thought it was all right. I was given permission. It's all right. But I see it's not in the newspaper, so it's okay. I feel so much better because I woke up last night and it worried me. Little things worry me that shouldn't and cost me sleep. I've lived through the grief of losing my wife, and I cope with it. I got on that computer to edit, the hardest thing is mentally that I've ever did. But it's helped me. I get up of a night, get on back over the computer, it'll put me to sleep. It's just like reading. I cannot read in the bed. I read a couple pages, don't admit a difference how interested it is, or he goes to sleep. Oh, Espanol.
I'm the same way. One page and I'm out. So this was a wonderful experience and I appreciate your time. So if you got any last bits, but I'm
just
golden.
say thank you for interviewing me. And, giving you the opportunity to share this is special, right?
For some reason, something's told me for a long time to tell this story. And maybe he's going to get tired one of these days and he's going to say, George, you've had long enough to tell your story. Because believers are interested in this story. But there's also people that I've met lately, they don't believe anything. But for a person to be what me and the Marines, the Navy people, the paratrooper, and the glider, he had better hang on to something. And it's good to have something. It's not something, it's real life to me. And another thing I believe, when we were little teeny babies, we were born. There's a hard drive somewhere in the sky, whether it be the stars, another planet, or something, that his full life is right there. Now, you can't let that be. You got to help him a little too. Thank you,
You gotta have faith.
and thank you.